Welcome to the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee, where the competition is underway between the United States and East Germany in women's gymnastics. We have moved through 2 rotations. Let's take a look at the team standings. The United States very strong, leading East Germany 97.30, East Germany 94.125. The all-around standings after the second rotation. Again, the story has been that of Wendy Bruce, the veteran member of the team, as she has taken the first 2 rotations, the vault and the bars. Wendy Bruce looking very solid today. Hello again, everyone. I'm Frank Gifford. Delighted you're with us on this, the 29th anniversary weekend of Wide World of Sports. And working with me today, a pair of champions in their own rights, Kathy Rigby-McCoy and Bart Connor. And Kathy, without the 2 big names in U.S. women's gymnastics, we're doing rather well.
Doing extremely well, despite the fact that the most renowned gymnasts are not here, including Brandy Johnson and Bella Caroli's top athlete. There's some very good Americans present. This meet will give whoever wins the opportunity to gain some very positive national and international exposure in light of the fact that there are some important meets coming up in the next couple of years. This is the time to build a solid reputation as an individual competitor as well as a team.
And a bit of gymnastic history being made here, Bart. The first time there's ever been a dual meet in this country between the United States and East Germany. It could be the last, because with unification between the 2 Germanys, all the changes in Eastern Europe, this may be the last time we'll look at an East Germany as we see it today.
Well, and as you know, Frank, the East German women's team has been one of the strongest in world and Olympic competition for the last 20 years, consistently winning medals. But it's a very critical and important rebuilding phase right now. It's a very young team. Only Bärbel Vielgos is a holdover from the recent World Championships. And with the cutbacks in coaching staffs and funding for sports programs in East Germany, it'll be very interesting to see if they can maintain that world-class program.
Picking up the competition now in the 3rd rotation, the beam, and this is a 14-year-old East German, Anke Schoenfelder, as she mounts the bar.
And the East Germans have been somewhat shaky so far. Anke fell on the uneven bar, so she's going to have to compose herself, and this is the toughest event to do that on. So precarious. Gymnasts want to make sure they don't work too cautiously. They have to be aggressive on this apparatus. Here's her gymnastic series, which is dance movements, 2 in a row.
Anke, at the age of 14, has seen so much change. Her home, Berlin.
Now, this is called the acrobatic series, when you see 2 or more movements of tumbling in a row.
Kathy, she had a lot of trouble on that series in the warm-ups, but she nailed it here.
Well, she put her game face on, as we've seen many times with the East German athletes. Concentration, obviously, so important. Tough break there. She held on to it. If she would have fallen, it would have been a 5/10 of point deduction. Possibly only 2 to 3/10 there. The East German form, technique, and finesse is very good. They just don't seem to have the same skills. Oh, big break there, 5/10. They've just been missing quite a bit today.
Anke, as Kathy mentioned, fell earlier in her favorite event, the bars, so she will be penalized 5/10 with that fall. Anke Schoenfelder, and will be returning to Memphis, Tennessee. The United States coming up when we return. Back in Memphis, a city that would like to have the Olympic trials in 1992, and the score for Anke Schoenfelder, 8.70. And we will look first at Shelley Stack, a former member of the United States Olympic team in '88 and a member of the World Championship team of last fall.
And unfortunately had a little break on, well, a big break on the uneven bars. Once again, we'll have to get her concentration together. She begins with a press mount, and watch this, she'll go right into what is called a planche. It's so impressive. Great balance. Obviously, one of the requirements to show balance here. She also has a move in her routine coming up, a front flip. Very, very difficult. A blind move. You cannot see where you're landing, and she just nails it. Her acrobatic series coming up again. 2 back handsprings to a layout. You can see that her time in the sport has really paid off here. Little wobbly there. I guess if you were to criticize one thing with Shelley, she really needs to work a little bit higher on her toes, have a little better form in her extension and her alignment. Have to show level changes on the balance beam, and this is, of course, one of them. Remember that balance beam is only 4 inches wide, 4 feet off the ground. The gymnasts have 70 seconds to 90 seconds to complete their routine.
How wide is the beam, Kathy?
The beam, as I said, is 4 inches wide. And in competition, it feels like it's about 2 inches. Round off double back. Pretty good routine, though.
Well, Shelley Stack, who will tell you that she kind of lost her motivation after the 88 Olympics, was coming back from a toe injury following the championships last fall and seemingly has it together once again. The 16-year-old from Houston, Texas, Shelley Stack.
Do you think they were kind of low on Liz?
A lot of fans here.
Shelley mentioned that she just has a lot more fun in the gym. She's been able to keep it in perspective and enjoy it a lot more.
Let's take a look from the overhead camera. You get a different view of the beam.
Shelley does a very nice acrobatic series here. There's a back handspring, layout, and this is a perfect angle to give you an idea of how precarious that balance beam actually is.
The margin for error, as we've mentioned so many times, is so slim. 4 inches.
Shelley Stack awaiting her score. Obviously pleased with what she has just accomplished.
Shelley's so great because she's always clowning around. She's has a terrific energy and a terrific spirit, and it's amazing when she can focus all that in and put together a terrific balance beam as she did.
And it's always such a dramatic relief to get that balance beam routine over with and have been successful with it.
A former Bella Caroli student prior to the Olympics and joined Don Peters' club in Huntington Beach, California.
You know, Shelley left Bella because she said after the Olympics she went back and she was training just with the same intensity as she did before the Olympics, and she said, I couldn't do it anymore. I needed a more relaxed atmosphere, and she's been able to do very well with Don Peters out in Southern California.
And now at the age of 16, she wants to be the team leader. And
9.625 for Shelley Stack. So the would-be team leader performs well.
The German Democratic Republic.
Sabina Otta of East Germany. And East Germans also not bringing their championship team of last fall here. Just one member of that team is represented, so they too are in a bit of not only political change, international change, but also in team gymnastics.
And this is probably one of the most impressive mounts a gymnast can do on the balance beam. You're running on a beat board that's very wide onto a 4-inch apparatus and completing a front flip, and she just hit it so well.
It's really remarkable too, when you look at her face, she's an exact duplicate of Aurelia Dobre from Romania, of course, the world champion of a couple of years ago.
And I'm sure she would like to have her success. There's a wonderful jump full turn. It's those moves that look so easy that are, as we said, the most difficult to land sometimes and keep straight. Here's her acrobatic series. Oh, big break, 5/10 of a point there, deduction. She had a lot of trouble with that in practice. Made it very few times in rehearsing it.
Being down so far after 2 rotations, Kathy, would it be putting a little bit more pressure? Are they trying to do a little more than maybe they can do?
Well, it's going to be tough to make up that many points. I think what you try to get out of is that kind of negative feeling that you have at that point of a loss. And you really have to forget about the first 2 events and just concentrate on your routine. But yes, there is added pressure. You don't want to fall again. You try to remain tough. Now preparing for her dismount. Double back. Little hop there on the end.
Sabina Otta, her hometown, Meersburg, Germany.
This is the front on mount. This is very difficult to do, to get enough height and rotation, and she made it easily and moves through it very nicely. Now she got in trouble on the acro series here. There's a back handspring to another back handspring. Let's see if we can see where she was off. She takes off, looks like she's pretty square when she pikes down. I'm not really sure.
Well,
Kathy.
she whips it over a little bit to the left-hand side, and you're talking about maybe a quarter of an inch.
And of course, this is the round-off tuck double back, and this is one of the best parts of the exercise. Decent lift, good position in the air, and a solid landing.
Sabina Atta, and we'll be back with her score and a look at a young rising star, a 13-year-old American, Shannon Miller, when we return to Memphis. 9-1-5, and Shannon Miller gets a round of applause. She's 13 years old. She's 4'3". She's beefed up to a hefty 60 pounds from a program weight of 55, and she has totally captivated the gymnast enthusiasts here in Memphis this past week.
And here's an athlete with an incredible skill level for her age. And from this point on, the only thing she'll probably need to work on is maturity and finesse, and of course consistency. But she is a real exciting newcomer in the international scene. Lots of potential here.
We've talked about the fact that she needs more polish, but she's looking better and better. Just 6 months ago, she didn't look quite this good in terms of poise and form and technique.
Exactly, and you can hear her coach in the background mumbling, "Stay on, keep tight." Those are the things that she's thinking as she goes through this routine.
And
now,
of course, it's Steve Nuno who has nurtured this young gymnast.
watch this series. Oh, back handspring 2 layouts. She missed that in the qualifying round yesterday. She had to qualify for this meet, and she held on to it there. Very lovely routine so far.
Steve Nuno was very upset with her because she never misses those moves. And when you think about it, we mentioned the fact that the beam is only 4 inches wide. She's about 3.5 inches wide, so for her it's about like tumbling on a sidewalk.
One of the things that fascinated me yesterday was watching all the other young gymnasts. They stopped doing what they were doing during the qualification competition yesterday.
Here comes the full in.
Oh, big break.
Ever so close, but she missed.
And your heart is in your throat at that point, and what a wonderful routine. But then again, she's 13 years old. She has some time. She shouldn't take it so hard.
Kathy, you've seen many of them. How good can she really be?
Well, that depends on a lot of things. She certainly has the potential. She has the skill level. It comes down now to how tough a competitor will she be when the pressure is on.
Shannon was the first American ever to do this dismount, full twisting, double back, and you can see she overdoes it. She makes it easily, pulls it around a little too far. Of course, that's a major deduction, but she does have a terrific future ahead of her.
And when your adrenaline level is so high, those things happen.
Shannon Miller awaiting her score. And of course, in the first 2 rotations, the story was another U.S. gymnast, Wendy Bruce, the veteran gymnast, here in the vault. 8.875.
9.875. Wendy certainly has tremendous power. Notice the nice, tight, clean form in the air. That's a laid out Yurchenko with a full, but she does a nice job in fighting that landing.
And the uneven bars again, 9.80.
Right here is her release move. That's called a Jaeger, a straddled front flip invented by an East German. She does a transition to the low bar here. Hip cast, pirouette. Back to the high bar, and this is the dismount sequence. She's going to cast up to a handstand. Here's a giant with a full turn and a little bit of a form break there. A probably 1 to 2/10 of a point deduction. But a nice, high, clean, tuck double back dismount.
And the leader after the first 2 rotations, Wendy Bruce. Meanwhile, Shannon Miller's score on the beam, 9.20. Charming young U.S. gymnast. And we'll be returning to the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee for more gymnastics competition.